All right, well, I've realized that if I'm going to document my targeting that's gone on throughout my entire life, I'm going to need to just tell little stories of what happened to me, little bits and pieces, and just go ahead and post them to YouTube. Because if I just do all this stuff like on my GoPro, keep it on my hard drive, and try to just have all that stuff in one spot, it's going to get damaged, just like my other hard drive got damaged. You know, they made it look like an accident, broke the USB cord off the end, yeah. So I would have to take it in and get it fixed. So, but um, yeah, I'm afraid what they put on there. And I take my hard drive in there and get it fixed, and then there's some shit on my hard drive that's not supposed to be there, and somebody contacts the police and says this was on there, and I'm like, yeah, well, you see, I get gang stalked. Uh, these people that I know put stuff on there and broke the thing off, so I had to take it in. And they'll be like, sure you did. So, all of my photography, like over 1 million photos. I've been a photographer for a long time. I was a photographer in the Air Force for 10 years. During that time, I shot hundreds of live shows, lots of bands, lots of models, lots of skateboarding ads in magazines, you know, paid modeling shoots that did not just, I like to take pictures of rocks and trees, photographer. So all of that stuff was on that hard drive, and I didn't have a backup hard drive. I had some stuff backed up, but not all of it. And that was like on my list of things to do, but I never could seem to have enough money. I was always behind and always struggling, trying to play catch up. And some of it was because of bad decisions I made, and some of it was because of this targeting. Oh, this is going to be an interesting video because I cannot pay attention today. It's ridiculous. I didn't sleep well last night. So I'm just going to do my best. So yeah, I guess I just have to, regarding the hard drive situation, conundrum, I need to just do this, put some of these videos on YouTube, and then they're there. And that will be for posterity. I learned that word from a guy that was in a Japanese internment camp. Ironically, I think he was possibly a perp. I still have his business card and his phone number. I think I'm going to call him one of these days. There's a lot of people I'm going to call, talk to, and ask him some questions and film them. I have to figure out the legalities of that first, huh? I don't get sued. Yeah, so I'm just going to tell stories, put it on YouTube. I tell stories, a story of what happened. It's hard to know where to start with this because there's so many different things that that coincide with each other and that are so spread out. And the more you think about it, the more you're like, man, if I had like this big white wall and I had like some red string and some photos and some, oh wait, I'm the guy with all the red string and the photos and you're trying to explain this whole thing, and everybody's like, yeah, right, you're that crazy guy. There's that character always in all the TV shows. There was one guy on Burn Notice. You see, you know what I'm talking about. It's in movies, a bunch of movies. It's the crazy guy with the pictures with the red strings. So, like, to figure a lot of this stuff out and tell all your different stories, you almost have to turn into the guy with the person with the wall, and you just have to understand that you might seem like that person to some people, trying to explain something they don't understand. And that's just the way it'll have to be. It's like when I listen to Neil deGrasse Tyson trying to explain quantum physics and the universe, and going into different uh, theories that he has about stuff. I, I just get lost, but I love it. I try to keep paying attention. There's a few different people that are that smart that you have to go. Well, hold on, rewind. What? So I think when you're explaining this to people, you're trying to explain some of these stories and stuff like that. You seem like that. These people, they're just like, well, hold on. I can't. This is too many steps. This is too much. Plus, you said something about CIA and FBI or something like that. I want nothing to do with that, and they shut down. So, which is understandable for some people. If they've got a good life, they've got something good going for themselves, they have a happy family, they're not targeted. To be nice, they're not going to be willing to introduce any kind of drama or conflict into their life from some stranger. Just trying to tell them, hey, look out, there's this thing going on in the United States. It's affecting millions of people. Or who knows, millions, I don't know. I would get my guess, I read there's 144,000 people. Like 10 different times. And I don't know where they came up with 144,000. But I did think that was odd. Of course, I always think everything's odd because everything coincides with everything. But the base that I worked at my entire career was the 144th Fighter Wing in Fresno, California. And for some reason, I always seem to look at the clock at that number too. To have all the repetitive numbers and all that stuff that I notice. Also, so anyway. I'm sure a lot of people that are going through this do see that too. There's some way that you get triggered to look at the clock at or wake up at an exact time, and then pretty soon you're starting to think, like, am I special? Am I something? Like, what's going on here? Why 3:33 and 4:44 and 11:11 and all this different stuff? And then you look stuff up online and they're like, these are God numbers, or these are this or that. It's Phoenix Rising, and there's all like a million different theories and stuff. But then you just realize there's a way that somebody could get your attention or get you to just kind of like look at the clock through, one of these frequencies or however this works. At that time, so much that you just start to think like, what's going on? And I mean, something is going on, but it might not be like what you're thinking or what we're all thinking. And a lot of people say this is demons. I myself, I've had a hard time believing a lot of that before. Like, I didn't do well in church with religion. I went away from it. I didn't like it. I just listened to a bunch of metal music and rap I thought it would scare those people away, and it turns out it makes them go after you more. And then I realized a lot of people that were into the kind of music that I like and like kind of the circles, it wasn't just for fun and to go run around in a mosh pit and just get a bunch of energy out. There's some true, legit Satanists that go to meetings and do all the shit you hear about that are real fucking hardcore. And that's not what I was trying to get into. I was interested in a lot of that stuff because it was like neat. I don't know. Not neat. It was like opposite of what was trying to be pushed on me when I was a kid. So I always got into that. I was always into all kinds of music, metal music, but a lot of metal stuff that has to do with the occult. And I never really paid enough attention to all of it to understand what all of it was really about. I just liked the scene, and I like doing photography at the shows, going to shows, getting in the pit, and doing the whole thing, get aggression out. And there goes my train of thought. I just went back to a couple shows that I was at, thinking about being in the pit. How fun that is. But maybe why it was so attractive to go and be able to get in the pit and slam around with a bunch of people is because If you're being targeted, you're just aggravated all the time. You're looking for something to just, an outlet, and that could be it. Who knows? Who knows? It's a lot of this. I think so many people want to just know the answer, and I think that might be where we get stuck. You have to be willing to not know the answer, and just kind of keep asking questions until you figure it out, kind of like in a scientific method. What's up, homie? What's going on? Oh, is there somebody here? Somebody pull up? Oh, you good to go? You have to pee? Oh, you saw some dogs go by. Distractions. Yeah. This is Willard. Well, Willis. I call him Willard. Wilski. Hey! No, get down, buddy. Okay. Hey, man. Trying to take care of your serious shit here, man. I try to keep my sense of humor through all this. I'm sorry, I'm doing like all these hand signals and shit. I'm just, when you go through this, you rub your eyes a lot because you're fucking, well, you ever been aggravated and stressed out? You just like rub your eyes. Oh, man, your hair falls out. First video with taking my hat off. I didn't do that intentionally, but anyway, I'm bald. That's just us white folks have to deal with that male pattern baldness. Most of us get that. And deal with it. I think my dad was bald by like 19. But he was targeted. He was targeted. I know he was. Either that or he was, man. He was either targeted or he's one of the reasons why I was targeted. I didn't see him a lot growing up. He would find excuses not to show up to events like my graduation. Say like, I can't show up, I have diarrhea. Or he wouldn't even show up. He'd just like tell somebody else or something like that. You know? So just like really crappy relationship where I was always trying to see him, and it just would always be something. So anyway, he worked for all kinds of different places. Rocketdyne. He worked as a firefighter at Plant 42, Edwards Air Force Base. He worked. Actually worked as a limo driver there towards the end. I think all of his resources had run out, and he was kind of doing that. After I think he became targeted. I don't know. Anyway, and the dude was a biker. The guy rode motorcycles in Lancaster, California. Jammed around all over the valley there with. He told me when I was younger, like running around with Hell's Angels and different people doing random stuff. He never told me anything specifically that he did with any of those people. He did tell me some crazy ass stories though. And since I'm just telling stories, here we go. Here's one that I just thought of. So I'm talking about my dad. So he was the biker. I have photos of him. He's just a picture a 70s biker without all the tattoos. So there you go. Anyway, worked at Plant 42, crash fire rescue firefighter. After that, worked for Rocketdyne, where they made the engines for the space shuttle. And you know, I'm pretty sure that was some high secret or high level clearances around there. I'm looking this way a lot because of my rearview mirror. I'm sitting in my garage and I'm looking out the back just kind of as people are going by and stuff like that. If you're wondering what I'm looking at. So yeah, my dad worked all those places, but I was with him one day, and I think I was a teenager. It was probably, man, I can't remember how old I was. 15-ish, something like that maybe. we were driving, and I was like, "What happened to Grandpa? Like, how did he die so early?" My grandfather died. I never met him. He was 55, and he died from a heart attack. Died of a heart attack. And I remember my dad saying, "Yeah, these guys. He worked for this oil company, and these people moved in and wanted his job, or something to that effect. Somebody wanted him to change something or do something, or wanted him out or whatever. And he was. I'm sure he was a tough dude. I'd have to thank him for some of my genes, because I'd be long gone by now without him. But he hung in there, and I think that they might have done something similar to this to him. And maybe he had a shitty diet too. I mean, everybody ate bacon every single day, bacon and eggs, and like maybe it was just a combination of those things. Probably smoked cigarettes, you know. So keep that in a factor too. But so he died at 55. My dad said that these people harassed him and messed with him, and I wasn't listening that well, because one, I was a teenager, and teenagers don't listen very well. And two, I was kind of like ADD, and just all over the place. And I didn't really catch the significance of what he was telling me at the time, because I didn't know that this would be, I'd be at this point in my life explaining this kind of thing. And so he said, yeah, these people messed with him, and they harassed him, and they gave him a hard time until he had a heart attack, and they killed him. And I was like, wow, I thought that was kind of like, they didn't kill him. He died of a heart attack from bad food or whatever, I didn't say that. I was always afraid of my dad. But so then my dad, I'm pausing because I'm trying to make sure that I get this correct. My dad tells me after that, he found a guy that had just gotten out of prison or jail. I can't remember what he said, prison or jail. This is while we're in the car. We're driving through the Mojave Desert. I'm with my dad, a little kid. He's got a Toyota Celica GT. He tells me, he looks over, he's like, got a cigarette, mustache. He's just like, yeah, I hired this guy who got out of prison. Go put a bunch of gasoline on that place and torch the whole fucking refinery. And so imagine me. I might have been younger than 15. I think I might have been. I don't know, man. It's so. Anyway, imagine your reaction as a kid when your dad tells you some shit like that. So, I don't know if I ever repeated that until he was dead. I can't remember if I said anything about that or not to anybody, but it wasn't something I was just like, hey, guess what my dad told me. So I guess he was that fucking gangster. I don't know. I don't know if he would just tell me that to try to impress me, or he actually he did it. Knowing him, man, some of the stories, some of the stuff I did see him do, I will not cancel that thought out of my mind in a second. I probably could lean more towards like, oh yeah, he probably did that shit. Which brings me to a conclusion, a possible conclusion that they figured out who did it. And I'm pretty sure you don't fuck with the oil industry. I mean, like, we go into war over oil. So, I mean, if we'll go to war and take out a whole country, take over a country, I'm pretty sure that they will gang stalk a person that burns down one of the refineries, and their kids, and their kids' kids, and they keep them in this loop, and just until they wipe them off the face of the earth. And that's their punishment. That's why this is so covertly done. It's so covertly done because it's like the shit you see in movies. You wonder where all these ideas from all these movies come from. A lot of this stuff happened to people. You know, some of those kind of far out movies that you think, huh, yeah, whatever. Like The Game with Michael Douglas. You're like, no way somebody could go through all that. I need to rent that again. It's been a while since I've seen it. And I'd look at it in a whole new light now. But I remember seeing that movie and hearing somebody mentioning that movie and how it's something similar to this. So there's a story. Uh, yeah, my dad's dead. He died at age 69 of, well, he had lung cancer. And he was going to the hospital to get that treated, but he kept getting caught smoking in the bathroom, you know, smoking in the boys' room. So he basically had just said, screw it, I think. And then I got home from drill one day. I had guard duty. Went for the weekend. It was when I was just doing drill. And I got home, and my mom was at my house. And I walked in and walked through the house. I think I grabbed a beer. Was starting to walk out to the garage just to go outside and just get some fresh air. My mom followed me through the house and followed me up to the garage and almost excitedly said, "Your dad's dead." And I was like, trying to take that in, and then before I could even like really process what had been said, she said, "Did you hear how he did it? He shot himself." Like she had just won, or it sounded like she was so excited. And I'm pretty sure that's not how most people want to get that kind of news delivered to them. Because I didn't appreciate it. So anyway, that's how he died. That was a few years ago. That was probably about 5-6 years ago now. But when I said, well, I need to go down there then, because I was in Clovis, California, Central California, Fresno area at the time, and he lived in Palmdale, California, still out there by Edwards Air Force Base where he worked. Kind of, you know, within the area. And immediately when I said, well, I need to get down there, and because I wanted to go see what was going on and be part of the process. And immediately everybody, my mom, her wife, everybody was like, "Oh, you shouldn't go down there. You don't want to see that. You don't need to go drive over there." And I was like, well, I don't necessarily need to see it. I just want to go help and be part of the process to get things taken care of. Go, you know, like I did think you're supposed to identify his body. I don't know, maybe it was already identified by the wife at the time. I don't know. Whatever you're supposed to do. I haven't been through that process yet, so I needed to go do something. It's my dad, even though we had a horrible relationship. So they all talked me out of not going, and I tried to contact his wife. Her name was Cindy, and I talked to her a couple times, and she acted so weird, not like somebody had died. I don't know. And I said there was two things that my dad had that I wanted, that he told me when I was a little kid, like in 2nd, 3rd grade. I don't know. I was a little kid, but my dad had this chrome 1911 45 with pearl grip handles, pearl grip handguards, and he had a ring that he wore that was a black onyx with a little diamond in it. It wasn't, you know, super crazy baller ring, and you know, that gun was a collector's item, and he it was one of the things we would do. We would He'd show me his guns, and we'd take them apart and put them back together. And, well, not so much. He would kind of do that, and I would kind of watch. But eventually, after a few conversations of asking what happened and getting like kind of weird reactions, stuff like that, I said, I'd like to come down there, and I'd just like to pick up that 45 and that ring that my dad had, because I was married at the time, and I thought that I would wear that ring as my wedding ring, and that I would hold on to that gun. It's an awesome collector's item. That thing is it was awesome. I think it was from the 70s. Anyway, when I asked for that stuff, it was like I had spent my entire life trying to weasel my dad out of his fortune. That was the reaction I got. And I got hung up on, and then she set the funeral up actually at a military graveyard across 58, on the way to Tehachapi. Sorry, I'm talking so slow. It's kind of tough to talk through sometimes, and I haven't eaten yet today, and I've been getting gang stalked like a bitch, so bear with me. Appreciate it. So she sets up the funeral at this military graveyard. My dad was in the Navy, and never even told me. Never called. I called, wouldn't answer the phone. So she went ahead and had the funeral. I couldn't go. I didn't know what it was, where it was. I had no idea. I just found out later from one of my relatives what had happened. And apparently she was the only one there, or whoever my dad worked with, or I don't know. I'm not sure. So on his tombstone, it was a quote from, he liked cartoons. It was a quote from the Warner Brothers cartoons on Saturday mornings. Porky Pig at the end of the cartoons. That's all, folks. That's what it says on my dad's tombstone. That in Navy. It said he was a RD3 on there. Radar guy. It's just ironic. Is there anything else I need to say about my dad? He had some other crazy stories about, being in a bar and people fucking with him, and he got his gun out and shot some holes through the roof and backed them all off and then left. That was an interesting story. There's several of them, but who knows? Maybe he had to do that in some instances. Maybe he was like he was targeted, and that was back. Shit, think of Lancaster in the 70s, 60s, and 70s. Yeah, there was wild stuff going on. I was told my aunt dated Frank Zappa. And then he started dating the girl that lived a couple doors down from my grandma, and all the kids lived at the house, they were all young. And my dad mentioned something about it when we were in the car. Yeah, I believe he might have been a little bit racist, unfortunately. But he said, yeah, this, and my wife at the time was Hispanic, Latina, however you would like to say it. And we were in the car with him one time, one of the last times we went to visit him. I said, hey, well, I want to go by and see Grandma's house. We drove by, and we're driving by, and he's like, yeah, Frank Zappa used to come by and date that Mexican broad that lived right there all the time. And yeah, so stories like that. I still have my Rocketdyne hooded sweatshirt my dad gave me when I was a little kid, when he got a job out there. took me out there one time. Got to see a bunch of the facilities where they were building the space shuttle engine. Sounds pretty neat. Maybe everyone's supposed to see some of that stuff. I don't know. Anyway, I'm feeling pretty lethargic this morning. Pretty slow. I apologize for the the slow tone and demeanor and everything, but you know, shit. Sometimes that's how you feel. I can't always be like, "Hey, everybody, it's Mike." Reporting today from blah blah blah. I used to do that stuff in the Air Force. I feel like I'm leaving you all hanging now, because when you talk this long, you just kind of run out of juice, run out of energy. Gotta go get something to eat. God, I need to get some work done. Getting some work done is really damn tough when you're trying to figure out what to do with this whole scenario. But you just got to do it and push through it, man. I try to remember basic training and deployments, stuff like that. And you just got to, I mean, I didn't go on any really crazy deployments, but just like the, you know, stuff you just got to like, okay, I just got to get through this. Just push through it. Just keep going. Keep going. Sometimes you surprise yourself how many hours you can put in. But eventually you get like these dark circles under your eyes from putting in so much effort. And I can't claim that it's from too much effort the last few days, because I have been dragging my ass with work. Owning your own business, you got to stay motivated. It's hard to stay motivated and have a positive mental attitude in your business and have hope for the future when you're going through this. You're like, well, I mean, what am I doing this for? I mean, I'm doing it for my kids. Whenever I kick it, they get whatever I had, but it's not, doesn't seem to be the point anymore. It feels like all this stuff will be gone eventually. You know, like I owe some money to the IRS right now. That was a nice little setup plan for me. I sold my house, and 3 days later my wife left after we just put $40,000 into it. If I knew she was leaving, I wouldn't have sold it, and I would have done something completely different. But she knew she was leaving, so she decided she was going to go ahead and let me go ahead and sell the house, and then 3 days later leave. So anyway, there's a long story with that, but in a roundabout way, or not a roundabout way, but at the end of the story, I owe the IRS like about 15 grand right now, and I can do it, but tax season's coming up again, and I'm gonna owe them some more money here pretty soon. And it's funny that the person that was in charge of the taxes said everything was good to go, everything was covered. We were putting money away for that. Was putting money away for herself to leave, let me pay the taxes. So I'm playing catch up now. Wasn't that nice of that person? That's not a lot of money. I mean, it's a lot of money. You could live on that for a year if you were savvy enough. You could live on it for 2 years if you were savvy enough. Depends on what you're willing to do. I gotta go inside. Gotta go get some work done. Hope everybody has a great day.